We've got,
It's all right. We're up
as
here
you
in
all know,
Montgomery,
we have a
Christopher
speaker
Blair.
here. Sometimes we have speakers, sometimes we
Please.
don't. But this particular time we do. And for those of you who are new, I see several faces that are new. This ministry got started as a result of myself and Minister Good and a couple of other brothers just really reflecting over our lives, our upbringing, the experience that we had as young men, and just seeing so many of our brothers in various conditions. Divorce, coming out of incarceration, unemployment, sickness, dealing with baby mama drama, you name it. And so we started this fellowship to be a support to each other, because how many of us know men need other men? Amen. 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 And so it's important that we support each other and be that fellowship for each other, because who understands men's situations better than other men? And so one of our inaugural members, Coach Steve Rogers, he's at Alabama State University, has been very candid and open with us about some of his life experiences. And I know for a fact that there are several of us that have had to, I haven't had to deal with it personally, but have had to minister to brothers and have brothers that have gone through divorce. And some of them have been pretty bitter. And the divorces have been bitter. And so character-wise, this society might say that the man is always someone who could take a leave of divorce and that actually exits a marriage unscathed, you know, like with Teflon or something, like we don't have feelings and like we didn't have things invested in the marriage itself. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Right. We are affected just like the other party is affected, sometimes more because of the complications that are involved. And so some situations I know where you have fellas taking care of babies that's not theirs, right? And going above and beyond what is called of them. And so, you know, just to minister to us who have gone through that, we're going to have Coach to come up. He's going to share with you his personal experience, and after he's done, another brother has an issue that he wants to bring before the group, because as you know, we do have an opportunity to where brother, if he has something that's on his heart or whatever, that he needs to bring before the group for, you know, for just some group response, we're going to do that too. So also I want to acknowledge a new brother, a newcomer to the group, Brother Terry Wooten. Terry, raise your hand. He's brought some fellas he's got a youth organization, and so he's brought some fellas from his youth organization here, and they're here with us. So hopefully he'll become a part of the family and bring some more youth and go from there. Also, before Coach Rogers come up, you know, Flea was our concierge out at the Bass Pro Shop. Well, Flea suffered a massive heart attack Friday. What? Yeah, he did. And so he was up in Memphis, and my wife and I hightailed it up there to Memphis yesterday to be with him. But he when they closed the restaurant, his job duties changed, and he became a regional manager. So he bounces around several Bass Pro Shops. Well, you know, Flea was not in the best of health. And so he had a massive heart attack Friday, and they did surgery on him Saturday. And so he's at home now, resting, talking about he's trying to come here. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not, you know. And so, but I just wanted to let you all know that he is doing well. And he actually called out the Bass Pro Shop to let if any brothers do show up there, to send them here. So he's still on his job after having massive heart surgery. Amen. So God is good. Amen. 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 So hopefully, if you have not introduced yourselves to each other, don't leave here unless you've shaken hands with everyone. Our focal verse is just as iron sharpens iron, so does the countenance of a man to his brother, which means that it is through our discussions and our interactions with each other that we actually strengthen each other. So we're going to ask Coach Steve Rogers to come, and he's going to share with us some of his personal experiences. And you got to give it up for a brother. You know he's delivered when he can be honest.
That's right.
And open about his situation, right? And so I had the pleasure of meeting Steve on the basketball court when Tuskegee played Alabama State. He was a senior and I was a freshman, and I was given the responsibility of trying to guard him. And I told my coach, how can you guard somebody when they're setting 2 picks for him? How can you do that? That's impossible. But I played with a lot of guys and against a lot of guys, and he is one of the most explosive players that I've ever come in contact with. He was a scoring machine, but even more than that, he's a good guy. He's a good, he has a good character, good personality. He is a leader over at Alabama State University. The students look up to him, the players look up to him, the faculty look up to him. And wherever he goes, there's always a bunch of high fives and a bunch of handshakes, and he's always patting the guys on the back, you know, saying you can do better. He'll get up in you if you're wrong. He'll check up on you to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, and so he's my kind of guy. So we're going to ask Coach Steve Rogers to come up. Come on, Coach. We're also on Kevin Elkins' radio show. Kevin, raise your hand. Kevin can't say anything at this meeting. This is the first meeting, so you can't say anything at this one, but I'm just joking. But Kevin Elkins' show comes on every Monday through Friday, from 6 to 9? 6 to 9 on 1440 AM. He's a great guy. Thank Kevin for allowing us to come on Friday to talk about what Coach is going to talk about next.
Good evening, gang. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity for being here today and being in this situation. And as Dr. White has stated before, I'm a guy product of divorced twice. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm from here, Montgomery, born and raised, grew up here, played basketball here, became this, great basketball player in high school, and later went on to become a greater basketball player in college, which gave me a opportunity to play professional basketball, to be drafted in the NBA, and play professional basketball in Europe, played 10 years in Europe. So everything was pretty much fast track for me. Growing up here, pretty much in poverty, west side of town from Ridgecrest, never had a day I could walk out the house and think that I had it made. That was a struggle every day. And I appreciate that struggle because it's real to me now, and it makes me appreciate things about myself now that I didn't know that was in the progress for me. And the Lord blessed me where I am now, that I can look back on that Ridgecrest experience and be thankful where I am now. But anyway, like I said, I fast-tracked my way up. Being a professional athlete, you see guys all the time, these professional athletes, you have to grow up fast. You have to be a man real fast. And with me, I got married at 24 years old. And I just talked to a guy in here, and he's far more advanced than what I was at 24. He's about to turn 24, James Baldwin here, tomorrow. He's way more advanced than what I was at 24. So that lets you know about where I was mentally with being ready to be married at 24 years old. Now, the first question I had to ask myself, and I do now, why was I in such a big rush to be married at 24 years old? Why? And the only thing I can think of was that I grew up not knowing what it felt like to have a father in my home. Not always wanting that family environment, that house and white picket fence and mother and father, and not having my kids grow up like I grew up. So I need to be married. That's the first thing I thought about being a professional athlete. I want to be married. I'm about to go off and sign this contract. Now, my first year in Greece, I want to be married. So, and this group wasn't around right here, so a brother could pull me to the side and say, hey, Steve, look, that might not be a good idea for you to get married. Why don't you think about deferring your marriage to later on in life and get yourself together as a man? Have you satisfied this checklist of things where you need to be before you even think about wanting to be with a woman for the rest of your life? Have you done that? Probably not. So look, you probably need to reconsider getting married. Now I know you love this woman, but if she loves you, she'll feel the same way about you. I didn't have that. So, long story short, got married. And I played in Athens, Greece. And if you look up the geography, Athens, Greece is in where? Europe. So, my wife being here from Montgomery, we were back and forth. I was back and forth with all these basketball camps and flying from here to there. And there was a big gap between my wife and me because I was on one continent and she was on the other. That's a lot of this. She's a young person. I'm a young person. She didn't fully understand what it was to be married. It's a great idea. Everybody has that idea. Everybody likes the idea of being married. We're married. But there are certain things in place that you need to have in place before you're married. And just me doing some research on marriage and just going over some things and just by the numbers, just by the numbers. Say within African Americans, there has been a decline in marriages with African Americans and families. There's been a decline with us. But over the past decade, other things have increased. The divorce rate has increased. Separations have increased. Out of wedlock births have increased. Cohabitation has increased. Families headed by females has increased. So this is the burden that divorce has placed on the African American family. This is where we are right now, and that's something I think that needs to be addressed. If there's an African American home, that's only, like I said, 45% of us live in a family home with African Americans that's married couples. 45%, opposed to, say, 70% with Hispanics, 80% with whites. So there's a big disconnect right there. And that's just something that we need to address as men, as a society. Divorce is killing us as a race. Divorce is killing us. And we have things here, men and divorce and our being reconciled back to God. Today is my reconciliation. Today is my reconciliation. All right. This is where it all comes to light for me. Why? I used to ask myself, why? Why was I divorced? Why was I divorced twice? And my answer to that is I could be here today. If somebody's listening, these young guys in here, if I could help one person to go down a road and do things a lot better than what I did to help somebody else, it would not have gone in vain. And that's what I plan to do today. And I'm not here to beat up black women because this is where black women are. This is where they are. They're looking at black women are nearly double the rate of divorce than they are of whites and Hispanics. And the reason behind that because, the violent crime with men, black men, that's violent crime. We killing each other. Second thing, inadequate health care. We don't have health insurance. We won't go to the doctor. We talk about this stuff. We talk about it here all the time. We don't go to the doctor. Or we don't have, we want to go to the doctor. We don't have adequate health insurance and things like that to go to the doctor. Incarceration rates. We're locked up. There's not enough men on the street. They're in prison. So now that puts black women at a place where, they're not charging good men. So now, where she has to choose from? Slick Willie, he wants, 5 or 6 women out here to do whatever he wants to do with them. Or he goes and marry, or you go off and marry whatever comes your way. And therefore, when you find out who the guy really is, now what happens? Divorce. Again, here we go, that vicious cycle. But, again, with divorce, there's so many things I'd like to shine a light on. My experiences with divorce. And guys, this right here, all this stuff I brought right here, this right here, this includes, and any you can have if you want access to this right here, you can have it. This is two divorce decrees in here. 2 divorce decrees in here. So if you have any idea or you want to know the anatomy of a divorce, you can look right in here. And I'm not ashamed to let anybody see it. It's pretty much you can go down to the courthouse down there and get it if you want it anyway. So save yourself a trip. If you want to find something out, if you're curious about, Steve, what does it look like to have, what does it cost to be divorced? What does it actually cost? I got checks here, count checks in here to attorneys and everything, and show you what it looks like, you know, to be divorced, of what a divorce looks like. And guys, we always paint a picture of divorce as this thing. We start, you know, this big bad wolf in the forest. Nobody wants to go in that forest and deal with that bad wolf until they have to. But we have to start dealing from the front end with divorce. All the time, effort, energy you put into divorce lawyers and everybody that comes along with that thing on the back end, had you put that into the divorce, your marriage up front, your marriage probably would have been successful. You know, had you put, this is a check right here, $25,000.
My Lord. Let's get the book.
You know, if and $25,000.
That's just one
Right
check.
at your house. Like I told you, now I was a basketball player back then. Now, everybody like not paying me that.
Yeah, the pretty level.
But I'm just saying.
Same problem.
I'm just saying, if $25,000 had been invested up front with premarital counseling, financial counseling, or whatever it is, resources that were available to help my marriage work, I probably would have been more successful up front with my marriage. Instead of everybody wants to work off the back end. Now, you know, everything comes into play. We say we're going to get divorced. We go down there and you get a lawyer, I get a lawyer. We're paying per hour. And these divorce lawyers are not cheap. You're paying where, you know, if you have a good one, probably $200 an hour. Some are probably more expensive than that. So do the math. And that's all these things like this right here. You know, we go down through here, we talk about when you go to discovery. Does anybody know what discovery is?
Yeah, all the information on the table.
That's right. You put everything on the table. We go down there, and I get in front of my lawyer, and you get in front of your lawyer, and we ask questions. They ask questions. Okay, well, how much is the house worth? How much do you have in your 401k plan? How much is your car worth? Did you cheat on your spouse? And all this stuff comes down and it's documented. It's documented. Okay, now, here's where some of us, you know, we're not educated in this part right here. We really don't understand the fact that a lot of this work can be done up front between you and I. We can do that. Okay, when divorce is inevitable, we already know that, okay, we're getting divorced. We know that. Okay, let's sit down and let's work all this stuff out. And let's be reasonable. Because if there are kids involved, we know that these kids, we're going to have to do the best we can for these kids. This $25 check to this guy here should have been, that should have been split between our kids. You see what I'm saying? If you got two kids, and do the math, and you spent $25,000 between two kids, what's that? $12,500 per kid, right? And this was this was 2001. 19 years. And just say you put, they had $12,500 in a mutual fund that probably, 10% yield per year for the last 17, 18 years? You see the math? You see what we're dealing with here? So instead of this guy putting in his mutual fund, whatever it came out to be with him, it could have been in your kids. You see, your kids could have had that. You see what I'm saying? That's between them. That's wealth that's within our family. That's kept within our estate with our families. And so that's the stuff that we need to be aware of. And, you know, I would suggest to anybody, if you're going through a divorce, first of all, I would suggest that you make sure that's what you want to do. You take the necessary steps and go into counseling and you make sure, brothers, you make sure that's what you want to do. And sometimes it may take counseling. You know, no one's perfect, whatever, your wife or you, whatever, we can point fingers all day long, but nobody's perfect. Sometimes it may take counseling. And that may work things out for you, and you may be okay, because every marriage, wherever, is never perfect. You're going to go through, you know, ups and downs. So counseling may be what you need. But a lot of times, divorce should be your last option. And divorce is not an emotional decision. we so often make decisions based on, because I'm mad at her. She's mad at me. Let me walk down to the courthouse and get a divorce. It's not an emotional decision. You know, that's something you need to be praying on. That's something that you need to take a walk, take a hike, think about first. Do I really want to do this? Okay, now when you make up your mind to do that, then only when you thinking with a clear mind that you should make a decision like that. Not because you're mad. You know. And also, once you get to that point where you can look at it and say, okay, I'm no longer mad, and this is where I am, this is my decision. Now you should look at it like a Fortune 500 CEO should look at that company. And this is my opinion. Now, I look at my company, Steve Rogers Company. I have cars, I have a house, I have kids, I have a 401k plan. I should group all that stuff together. And I should do everything I can with my wife to sit down with her, and we just take inventory over everything. Everything, we put it out there. And we look at it, and we say, and I say, okay, we have a house. And back then, we had two houses. And you can see in these divorces, between how they were played in these divorces, and you can look through all this stuff. We had two houses. We had our first house that, you know, and we moved out of there, went and built a house, and that other house we were renting out, and that was just, you know, extra income for us. And the other house we had built, that was our family home. So the judge was kind of looking both ways, like, okay, I know they need houses and things like this right here. This is a family house, and they got that property over there, so, you know. And this is something that my wife and I, we could have done. It didn't take a judge to do this. But the judge said, okay, Steve, you're going to take that rental house over there, and the family, they're going to stay where they are, and you have this amount of equity in that house over there where you are, and that house is whatever, you know, has 100% equity. So, okay, now we get to the point where, all right, this is where I think, like with men, and you have to be, aware of what's coming to you. And this is not, I'm not saying at all this was unfair, because at that particular time, my earning income was there. And they granted me the rental place. I didn't have a mortgage. But the thing about it is, this is where they got me. And of course, you're gonna have to pay your wife, I think it's down here, $3,000 per month in periodic alimony, and $1,280 in child support per month. Okay. Right? That's what 4,000, whatever. Okay. All right. Okay. We got the math together. You see what I'm saying? I'm squaring out thinking about it. But listen. Here's the deal. Here's the catch. Now remember, my job at the time as a professional athlete, that's a job where, you know, hey, I'm flying back and forth to Europe. If you twist the ankle or knee, wherever, you're out, right? There's no more that check that you would get before. You don't have that same type of income. Okay, I can go be coach at Alabama State, but y'all see what I make at Alabama State. It's not, you know, $4,000. I can't afford that, right? So that type of scenario came into play. I think I had some type of knee injury or something like that. So I didn't play ball anymore. So now I'm faced with that $4,000 whatever per month with child support, whatever. Okay, for a little while there, you know, and I'm a thrifty type of guy. So fortunate enough, I had some savings there. A few months I could kind of swing it, you know. But some about me was like, okay, dude, you know, this is not gonna last long. So now I had to go back to court. And a lot of brothers don't know this. That you can go back and amend your agreements. It's not locked in stone.
That's right.
You can go back and amend whatever's been, the judge has passed down to you, and you can go back and get it amended. Okay? I went back, and fortunate enough, I got it amended, and things were different. But here's the catch. I think I owed about $12,000. $12,000 to my wife and her attorney. And guess what happened? They filed for that $12,000. And the state of Alabama, I think, when one state, and back then was when they put a judgment out against you. They put a lien on your property. What property did I have? I had the rental house that was 100% equity, right? So okay, they put a lien on my house. You know, the lien was on my house until I paid off that $12,000. And then they put, I think, 10% on it per month, but you don't pay something. And y'all correct me if somebody had, you know, they put about 10% on that interest per month when you don't pay that. Okay? So now I got that $12,000 plus that 10% every month, right? And I had to go back and take a second mortgage out on that home. All right, now, here's the catch also. If you're trying to take out a second mortgage after a divorce, unemployed, you see what I'm saying? Who's going to do that? You don't have a job to pay this back. You just got divorced. And a lot of times, a lot of men, we do what at that point? We go into bankruptcy. We declare bankruptcy, a lot of times with men. But I didn't do that. They were bought South Trust back then. I remember that bank.
No.
Okay. They gave me a loan. Gave me a loan, got a little mortgage on the house. I was able to pay and got out of that. But that's not the worst of it. That's not the worst of it. All right, probably about a year after that, I got a call one day of the state of Alabama. Tax people. Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting right here.
Tax man code.
Yeah, this is where it gets this is where it really gets real interesting right here. And this we talk about, you know, goes back to that decision now. We're going to talk about this about being married and all this kind of stuff. And the man, they say, okay, sir, it looks like to us, you paid federal income tax, but you underpaid your state taxes. You should have been paying state taxes, and you got penalties, and interest for the last 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. The last 7 years. And it's going to cost you about $50,000. It's about $50,000. Yeah. Your tax bill costs about $50,000. And I almost fainted. But here's the deal on that. Just like any other thing, nothing's written in stone. And a lot of times when the IRS or the tax people, they want their money, you can negotiate with them. If you have good people working for you, you can negotiate with them. And I had a person working with me, and she went down there and she negotiated down to $35,000. That's still a lot of money, but that's better than 50. Okay, so we still got the old option. Still got the old house, right? We still can go put a lien on the house and go and still now, like I said, now this is divorce. This is the residuals of a divorce. This is not. We're not married anymore. They didn't go knock on her door for that $50,000. They came calling me, right? So this is a residual as part of that divorce. So now we had to come up with $35,000. Or what? They're gonna start taking every month. They're gonna liens, penalty and interest. Same type of deal. Been through it before. All right, we get another mortgage. Again, Abel and I started working at Alabama State, and we worked out some things. Got done with that. Okay. And then something about me a couple years out of that said, you know what? I want to be married again.
All right,
I want to be married again. Still, there we go, still chasing that marriage dream, right? Still chasing that white picket fence, and, all right, get married again. All right, now we're rolling, and things are rolling, and we're married, and I don't like this about you, you don't like that about me, nothing just major, nothing that's going to send somebody to jail or anything like that. It's just, we just don't get along. Or, like they call it, irreconcilable differences. Anybody heard about that?
Yeah. All divorce.
And in Alabama, they call this is a no-fault state. And a lot of times you can get divorced because of that.
Exactly.
But here it is again. I'm back in court again. And this time, I chose a different divorce lawyer. And be careful, I advise you, if you are thinking about divorce, and I hope nobody's here, I hope that never happens to anybody. But be advised, that decision you make that's going to affect the rest of your life, who you choose as a divorce attorney, is very important. Make sure you interview at least 3 people. Don't go down there and the first person that sounds great, you take that person. 3 people. Interview 3 people and make sure you come to a decision that this is the best person for you. This second divorce, I didn't do that. I just went on by word of mouth by a colleague that this person was whatever. Okay, now, going through this second divorce, this person is probably the worst attorney that was placed on this earth. This person's license she's been disbarred.
Wow.
As of today, she's disbarred, okay? That lets you know where she was, how she was. Also, the judge in that case was reprimanded because of different things. I just thought I was mistreated, you know. This second time I was married for 5 years, 4.5 years. 4.5 years. In this case, in 4.5 years, my ex got on the stand and she put on the performance of a lifetime. I've never seen Holly Berry put on a performance like that. She got on the stand and she broke down in tears. She was not the type, she was an ex-Army person. She was not weak at heart by any means, never like that. She got on the stand and she wept about being afraid of being on welfare, her and my daughter, after divorce. That's what she cried about. I don't want to be on welfare. And the court, after being married only 5 years, and because she moved in with me, they awarded her $27,000 of equity out of my home. And this right here is documented now. I thought it was unfair. And at the time, I had gone through all the stuff, and you know, I just didn't have the means and anything to be, you know, to challenge it, to go back and to challenge the decision. So I just started doing some research on this, on stuff online about this judge, and I saw that there's a lot of people out there was just saying the same things I was saying. It was totally unfair. I got treated unfairly as a man. Who awards a woman that amount of money in 5 years of marriage? Only 5 years of marriage. And that happened to me. And I couldn't figure out why that I was going such a thing and what's going to come out of this. And all these years, I said, you know what, I can use it. When I talk to people, if I ever get the platform that I can share things with people that can open their eyes up to different things, and some brothers, that marriage is a good thing. But if you happen to go through a divorce, that's just something you need to really know about before you get married. You need to know about the other end of the spectrum. And you need to hear it, not from divorce lawyers or what. You need to hear from a guy like me that's been through it. You know, you need to hear from me. Anything you need to know, I can tell you, because everything from custody battles, all that kind of stuff, and my exes are great women. I must say that. Let me make sure I say that. They have done a superior job with my kids. I have two boys by my first wife and a girl by my second. And all of them, I am very proud of my kids, and my exes have done an excellent job with my kids. I couldn't be more proud of how they've been. And they let me be a father. You know, they let I had an issue with one of my boys, you know, when he was in high school. And I went storming over there, and once when I came, and my ex was there, had the door open and let me walk right through, and that is, you know, that's how she was. You know, do your job. She didn't, whatever it was I was doing and got up to him, you know, that said a lot about her. And I appreciate that. So I'm not saying all this to diminish my exes, because that's what we have to get away from too, men. We can't bash our exes and things like that.
That's right.
It's we had to get past that, and you really have to treat them still like they're part of the family. You really do. And my first ex, and she's that type of person. She treats my other daughter just like she's her daughter. That's the type of relationship we have, and I'm really blessed for that. You know, I'm really blessed for that. So, but in saying that, we have to be smarter with marriage and the options we have with marriage and divorce and stuff like that. As men, we have to make better decisions. Don't be like me. Take more time, do your research, watch people, you know, reach out to your mentors, your pastors, or whomever to help you with whatever decisions you're trying to make as it pertains to marriage and divorce. Don't just go out there mad and start doing stuff. Don't leave the house and you mad and leave and you hadn't come back for 3 or 4 days. There's stuff that goes on, and when you go through, we talked about discovery, that's, with abandonment, when you abandon your home and your kids, whatever, you have nothing to fight for when you go to court. When you go out here and they got cameras on you and some woman and you have nothing to fight with when you go to court. So make sure you document everything. Y'all see this right? I got documentation all the way back then. This is probably irrelevant right now, but documentation. When you paying that child support, we ain't giving her. Well, I gave her $1,000 the other day. No, you should be documenting that either with a check, a money order, or something like that. It's not I put the $1,000 in our hand and you walk off. And this is another thing that men, we don't have. A lot of times we don't understand this. Fatherhood is not, it does not exist with just a check.
That's right.
These kids, oftentimes being a part of divorce, they feel like they have to choose sides. A lot of times they looking like this over here, and they look back over here. Mom over here, dad over here. I got to choose sides. So a lot of times they choose the side that where they're living at, they kind of fall to that side because that's just normal to do. But you need to make sure you put in time. Time, not just money. Don't throw checks at them. Don't throw dollars at them. Don't throw expensive gifts at them. Time. Time. Spend time. That's where the trust is built. That's where the bond is built. That's where they get to know dad. That's where they get to know that this guy cares about me. It's irrelevant what happened between him and mom. This guy cares about me because he takes me to the baseball game. He comes up to the school and have lunch with me. He spends time with me. He asks how I'm doing. He calls me on a regular basis. That's what it's about. And I've learned that with all my kids. And I think that's why we like we are now, because they know that they're going to get a call from me. Or just a text, a random text. I love you, proud of you, whatever. Don't be afraid. And my boys, they, sometimes now I embarrass them. Because I walk up to them, kiss them right now. And they're grown men.
That's right.
Because they know that's how I feel about them. I don't care. They're mine. They're still my babies. I don't care. But we have to spend time. We have to let those kids know we love them. And we cannot let divorce kill us. But like I said, gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up there. And like I said, I got this right here. Anybody had anything you want to know, how the anatomy of a divorce, from from custody, from division of assets to whatever, tax things, there's so much stuff that goes into, with 2 divorces right here, man. I could probably tell you or show you. You have to go down there and pay $200 an hour for somebody to show you or tell you. You can come to me. Thank you, guys, and I appreciate you.
So you got married when you married a third time?
Yes, I am president married. And I'm president married with stepkids. That's another dynamic.
How long you been married? How long you been married this time?
3 years.
3 years?
3 years.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Coach, briefly, can you talk a little bit about how other people are affected by divorce? Because if you and your spouse were friends with other people, and have you seen people kind of struggle on how to relate to you now that you and the spouse? Because when you love a couple, you love both of them.
Right.
And you love both of them equally, even if one is your homeboy and you met the wife through him.
Right.
You know, you still are emotionally attached to both of them.
Right.
So how do you know, how does that ever come up, or
Oh, yeah.
how do you navigate through
And
that?
here's an experience, guys, that I was going to share with you guys. That this, I forgot all about it. Theirs is affected by divorce. You know, they don't. What do you call a person that used to be your mother-in-law? You know, just say like now. I have my daughter. She's in Florida, and I met many people in Florida. From that's where my ex-wife is from. My second wife, she's from Florida. I met many people from down there. But even people in her family right today, they still treat me as family because that was a relationship we started and it never stopped. And I would suggest you do the same. If we were cordial before then, we treat each other like family, we still like that. I treat my ex's boyfriend like he's family because he's been around. You know, they're engaged to be married, so I treat him like family. And you know what? The kids are watching that. If they see you treat them like that, they know that, okay, you know, Dad is not threatened by anything like that. Dad wants the best for me. Then they're okay with it. Yeah.
Hey, my name is James Jemison. And you mentioned something about the children. Because I have 4 kids. They're all grown, 44, 34, 34, and 31. But the oldest son, the oldest 34-year-old son, I just gave him money and kept on moving. And today he's real angry with me. And I'm believing God to heal the relationship because I do have a relationship with the 3. But that particular one, I didn't know how to take care of no outside son. And then I'm the preacher. I'm doing everything in the neighborhood, pride, and all of that jumped in it. So I just see him and I throw him some money. You know, here $100 there, $200-$300 here, keep on moving.
Right.
And you can't pacify them like that. And his mother ended up getting married again, and the stepdad treated him like he was an outcast. And now my son, he's bigger than you, and I mean he played football at Alabama State.
Okay.
Blowed his knee out senior year. But he was a respectful kid.
Right.
But man, and I met the man. If I had been that old man before I fell, I probably would have shot him that day when I met him.
Right.
Because I got a chance to see my grandkids on Facebook.
Right.
This was in 2016. Man, it was terrible how he treated my son. And then now I want to be the dad, you understand, that I should have been then. And it really hurts.
Right.
You know, but I thank God he delivered me from that pain because I'm believing him to heal that relationship.
Right.
We have to be careful about how we treat our children, and even in the second marriage, because I'm believing God for another marriage. I am. I'm looking for a wife, but she's going to be that wife that God gave me.
Right.
And you understand, friendship
Right.
versus relationship should be first.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You refer to your son as outside kid.
Yeah, that outside.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why I have a problem with that, because my circumstances growing up with my father here, and my father is here in Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't in, South Dakota or California, somewhere where it made it difficult for me to see him. He worked at Greyhound bus station downtown named Mosley Murray. Some of y'all may know him. He worked there for years. But there was an incident when I was about 12 years old. Alabama State used to have this program called the NYSP program.
That was a good program. That was a good program.
We used to go to the NYSP program.
Yeah.
We got tipped off that my dad stayed on Oak Street, not Oak Street, but what street is that by Alabama State right there?
South Jackson.
Hall Street.
Hall Street.
We got tipped off. My dad stayed on Hall Street. So every time that bus from NYSP program would ride down Hall Street, taking us back to Ridgecrest, we passed by there, and we'd be looking for where our dad lived. One day we found out, so that's where our dad lives right there. Our mom told us. And one day we passed by there, we saw a bunch of kids in the yard playing. We saw about 4 kids in the yard playing. We looked. This is my brother now I'm talking about. We looked. Those are our brothers and sisters. Okay. Now we said, okay, we put a plan together. Get the bus. We're not going on the bus. We're going to walk from Alabama State. We said we're going to walk from Alabama State and walk over to our dad's house. And we're going to meet our sisters and brothers, and we're going to go see our dad. We're on cattle date. I want to see out my dad. I want to meet my sisters and brothers. We walked over there. He wasn't at home. His wife answered the door, and she said, hello? Who y'all looking for? We said, we're looking for our dad. He's not here. And y'all need to go. We left. And the reason I'm saying the outside kid thing is he called my dad. He called my mom. Hey, I heard that Steve, my brother's name was Steve, and Mike came over to the house unannounced. And it's not good for outside kids to show up at the house and tell them not to do that anymore. That right there still hurts me to today.
And to clarify what you're saying,
That outside
my
kids
kids are tighter.
No.
Those 4 kids, they are just like one. They understand what family is. They are, and for me to get, to sit before all of your children, and they tell you, well, why did you treat him like that? And your dad, because I'm meeting brothers and sisters right now that I never met before.
Right.
So, no, I said outside, that's what I call a den.
Okay.
No, that's my son. I want a father and son. Matter of fact, he's the only one I got DNA on. And if I show you the picture of all 4 of my kids, they all look alike. They look like their dad. Yeah. And guess what? They are my children, can't deny it. They wouldn't even I didn't try to deny him, but didn't find out he was my son until he was 6 years old when I got a letter from the friend of the court saying that I got a child that I need to take care of, which I had no problem with taking care of. His mom just wanted my last name. That was it.
See,
and I didn't know how to handle that.
That situation right there with the outside kid, and, we were just talking, they were asking me about my family. I don't know anybody on my dad's side of the family.
Right.
Because I was born out of wedlock. Most of all my other brothers and sisters. My oldest brother, he's in his 40s and 50s, and I'm 27. So you think about the youngest kid that was right above me was 34.
Wow.
So you look at the dynamics of saying, hey, they asking me who do I know. I can't name drop my grandparents on my dad's side. I don't know nobody.
Right.
So it's like you say,
What's the fake everything?
Right.
Before-
Yeah.
before my dad.
And then coming up like that, you always feel like one thing that I don't have, I want to be married. I want to, and you want to go full steam ahead into that marriage and trying to find that stuff that you were missing when you were a kid, and that type of household that you didn't grow up in. You want to bring your kids up in a better environment and come up like that, and you don't really stop and think about, all the things that go into being prepared to be married.
I say with that too, like I didn't know my dad was married. The day that he passed, I went to his funeral, and that's when I actually saw his wife, and I was there with my mom. So you could just imagine, like, I didn't even get to sit on the family side at my dad's funeral. I had to watch my niece and nephews and all of them get up and have eulogies and talk about this person, and I honestly was actually getting to know him at his funeral.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, right.
And that's hurt.
Yeah, growing up, I think right before he passed, it was about 6 months before he passed, and I'm in the car just like he was, and I had to call him to come tow my truck for me. And when he comes, he shows up with somebody else. So I'm thinking, who is this? And I'm already frustrated because my car broke down on me. And when we get in the car, I sit on the outside. He says, no, sit right here in the middle. But when I sit in the middle, the whole ride, he's like, he introducing us, and I'm sitting next to a blood brother, and I didn't know nothing about him.
Right.
So I mean, and as he kept getting worse and worse, he would call me. And, like the last couple of months of his life, every time one of his other kids would show up, he'd call me and come to the shop and trying to get me to talk to him and get me to meet him, but it's just, it never, me, I didn't know, but them, they all knew me,
Right.
but no conversation, it was
Which is another dangerous situation because my sister and I, we're a month apart. We went to Lanier High School together. I had a sister who went to Lanier High School. I had two sisters that went to Lanier High School with me, and we're pretty much around the same age, you know. And my brother, the younger brother, he's the same age as my other sister and brother. So that can be dangerous, you know.
Yeah. You know, the old folk in the family, when you bring somebody home, they always ask them who are their people. I go to my grandmama's house and I bring a girl over there. Well, first thing my grandma do, she just stare at them. You know, they're real uncomfortable. But I figured out what she was looking for. She was, you know, she was looking for my uncle. You know, she was looking for my uncle. You know, because my uncle kind of got around, you know. But that happens, the chances of you having a paternal or maternal magnetism is very high. Because our families are so disjointed, even now, they're still disjointed to a point to where it's hard to find those family bloodlines because of our culture. So much happened, you know. And so that's a whole nother session for us, but we will discuss what has happened to our people so we can recover. Carl, you got something?
Yeah, I have most things covered. A lot of this. First and foremost.
Well, give us one, because we
Carl.
Yeah, we ain't got any time.
I worked at child support, worked at tax place. I found out about my three. My dad never said he had any outside children. He had children. The first one I found out was going to NYSP was a niece of mine. I found out later I had sex with her. My dad said, don't do that no more.
Yeah.
My second one, that's how I found out that's my niece and my dad's oldest child. My second one, my brother looked for my dad from New York. He stayed down there at the bottom of Children's Court for years. My dad knew about it and went off. Mom took him to New York. He came back at 50 years old, found my dad, knocked on the door, said, I'm coming in. I know your mama hurt, everybody hurt. But my dad said, let him in, that's my son. And my third sibling that I know of, that my dad had, none of them was ever. My dad said he went to court, he told him, I got 10 at home, 11, 12 was at home, take care of them, and whatever you put in the book me send, I'll send it down now. My sister told me lately, the sister we finna meet right now, me and her exactly 4 or 5 days apart. She's 56 years old. We're gonna meet her for the first time.
Yeah.
She come here for a family reunion, and they said, Dad, you take us down now and send her to pay child support. $6 pay period. So one thing my dad always did, and I tell my family, my church, taking care of my own is easy, extremely easy. It's my goal to help others outside, help impact other people's lives, because taking care of my dad lived by example, and he did it, and he, all of us at home, 12 up, his side of the family, grandmama move in, my daddy, my mama move in, everybody move in. He was that type of man. Number one thing, we also remember, in slavery, that one that I tell people all the time, they say, look at me like crazy. Two things the white man did slave out. He slept with black women, we slept with white women, and they taught you how to be whoremonger. Have a family over here, move you around, all around the place, build a family, a lot of, and that seed is lingering.
Yeah.
Have a family over here, a family over there, and a family over there, and too many of us whoremongers.
Yeah.
And we embrace that, encourage that, love that I did when I was young. My wife said, I ain't sitting at home, you ain't gonna be doing all the food. No, you ain't gonna be sitting me at home, you go make all, and I did that outside, but ain't no outside, ain't no stepchildren for me. All of one, we all one, we ride as one, that's it, that's the bottom line.
That's right.
And there is a cultural aspect of this. Even excluding, you know, white people's influence on us, you know, we still have one responsibility. And two, we have still been able to maintain a sense of our dignity and our morality. And even the slaves were trying to free their children. Right. And were trying to protect them and doing the best that they could. So we're gonna definitely talk about that. I had two sisters I didn't even know I had until my dad died. I was finna get up and preach once. I'll never forget it. And they were doing the hymn of preparation. And one of the ushers, which is unheard of, came and got me out the pulpit. And I went back, and this lady, elderly lady, was standing at the door. And she asked me, she said, your name Bob White? Now, me and my dad had the same name. So whenever somebody asks me that, I'm always cringing because you never know. You never know what's finna come down the pipe, My dad was, he was a character. But, and I'm sitting there, and so she goes back to the car, and this girl comes up. She's older than I am. But I knew who she was the minute I saw her. I knew who she was because she looked just like him. She looked like me, but she looked like my dad. And so her family and my family now have such a tight relationship. The other sisters, is pretty much not wanting to deal with us at all. But the point is that what we're dealing with is the spirit of abandonment.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. It's called a spirit of abandonment. The feeling of being abandoned. My dad did not do right by his daughter because his dad abandoned him. It's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. When you feel abandoned, you abandon. That's natural. It becomes normal. It becomes a generational curse, if you would. And so my dad never got over the fact that his dad abandoned him. And you can give a child money and still abandon them emotionally and spiritually.
That's right.
They're going to need the money anyway, true. But it is those other fatherly things, and one is being accessible, two is being affectionate, and three is being accountable. And a good thing, brother James, about if you blow it with a kid, you always got a grandkid. Hopefully your son will have a grandkid. Okay, well see, you might not have been what he was supposed to be,
right,
but you can be to his kids. And see, that's the thing, because with granddaddy can do no wrong. You see what I'm saying? And so your son will have to compare what his children's opinion of you is with what his is. Because he will not be able to say something negative about you if you're being to them what you're supposed to be to them. And that's how that reconciliation, will take place. But we have to pray against and come against and be delivered from the spirit of abandonment, right? Because if your parent abandoned you, or we got some young people here, is abandoning you, there is a way you can counter that now. And number one is you forgive them. That's the first thing. Forgiveness is the starting point for everything. And when you forgive, it doesn't mean you let them off the hook.
That's right.
But you do recognize and understand that there are forces beyond your control that's dictating this situation. You can't make somebody else act the way that you want them to act. But when you forgive them, the resentment begins to leave, and now it is between that person and God for that person to become obedient. You get God in the midst by forgiving. And is it easy to do? Well, it's not easy, but it is something, it is a commandment. The scripture commands us to forgive. So wherever God sends you a commandment, he sends the power to enforce that commandment. Right? So commanding forgiveness is important. Commanding and looking for a time of reconciliation, because you can't force it. Because you don't know. We're all men. Man, you know what goes on inside a man's mind and his heart?
My Lord.
And a lot of times we look at a kid the way we look at the mama. Just think about it. The way we feel about that woman has a lot to do with the way we look at that kid. And so not only do we have to develop a positive outlook on our baby's mamas, being a pastor, understanding this, when brothers come to me with baby mama problems, I don't care what the situation is, we always leave with me saying the same thing. And I just say this: I don't know how we gonna do it. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know the means that the Lord is gonna use. But I know this: ain't nothing gonna go right until we make that woman our friend. Some kind of way, y'all gonna have to be friends. Some kind of way, y'all gonna have to be partners. And if it requires way more patience on your part than hers, even in a marriage, it's gonna require that. How many married brothers we got in there? Been married a minute. I've been married 26 years. Do you know how much patience you're gonna have with the woman of your quiver, with the woman you love with all your heart? Does that not take a whole bunch of patience? Well, if it take patience with her, it's gonna take patience with every woman that's in your life. And like I said, a lot of it, she may have been that way before y'all even hooked up. But the point is that at least looking to and trying to and praying for there to be a meaningful relationship. I commend this brother for having relationships with not only his ex-wives, but with his ex-wives' mates. That shows that his ego has been terribly damaged. That's good.
It's been dissolved.
Yeah, it's been dissolved. That ego is gone. And you can't be a servant. Listen, you can't be a servant with an ego. You can't. And the Lord does that. Amen.
Amen.
So we definitely need to pray for each other. And man, when he showed that $25,000 check, I mean, I'm gonna take up an offering for him today. That's a dagger there, boy. That's a dagger. That's a dagger. That's a dagger. Yeah, that's one right there in the gut.
Make you stay in your house and not your house.
Financial literacy will be.
Yeah, financial literacy. That's gonna be
taxes and everything.
We're gonna do one on health because health is so critical, brother. We checking out at an alarming rate. Prostate cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, those types of things, and we heart disease, hypertension, and we got to get that stuff under wraps, man. You know, and it is a part of us being the temple of the living God.